What up, fishes? It's your boy Chillfish, and today I'm coming at you with 5 reasons why knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Now, it's debated in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Whether this is a pay-to-play game or win-to-play or whatever you want to call it. But in reality, I personally think this is a power game, and not necessarily power as in just, Summon Skull Beatdown or something like that, or Moon Shield over your opponent. This game is knowledge-based. If you understand what your opponent's going to play, if you know what your opponent's going to go for, you can pretty much take advantage. Even if you're playing against something that you're not good at, if you're playing against something you're not good at, but your opponents know how to play against your deck, you have an advantage right there. Actually, I remember a couple years ago, right around when Cosmos were just starting to become meta-relevant, that dark time and era, Cosmos and Pendulums and Monarchs, I was playing Teller Knight still, because I was still clinging on to the past. And what happened was I was playing, and the guy who's full-power Cosmos had no idea how to stop Teller Knights. And I'm thinking over here, Teller Knights won Worlds 3 months ago. This was, I think, in the summer, I think this was during the school year, and Worlds was in July. So I was like Teller's just won Worlds. You have no idea how to stop this game. And granted, he won. He beat me, but we went to game 3 because he had no idea how to stop Tellers. And I just kept doing things, shenanigans. I kept playing with Alessum, the whatever one you want to call that burns for 1,000 points. So I was just being a jerk. But I almost won that game. And recently, as part of my New Year's resolution, I've been going back to competitive Yu-Gi-Oh! I've been playing more at locals. I'm trying to go more often as we can. Last few times it's been kind of crazy with my schedule. But I went a few weeks ago. I was playing Gravekeeper anti-meta just for fun. I just want to play around and see what's going on here. And that's when I realized that knowledge is such extreme power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! So let's just dive right on into it. 5 reasons why knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! And by the way, nothing's ranked. It's not one's better than the other. It's just these are kind of 1 through 5 is how I kind of thought of stuff. The first reason why I think knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is the worldwide meta. Now that seems kind of obvious, what people are playing in the world, and world is just subjective. That could be your personal world. It could be your local area, your regional. It could be United States. It could be TCG, OCG, depending on where you're from. But if you know what meta-relevant cards or decks are playing, you have an advantage. You know what troubles these decks. You know what strengthens these decks. You can theoretically play around these things. If you're aware of what decks are competitive or what decks are rumored to be competitive or coming up on the tier list, or even coming off the tier list, you have that advantage. If you know what's going to be on the tiers, if at the time of recording this video, Counter Fairies just came out, so people kind of speculate whether that's going to come out or not, you can plan for that. But when you know the worldwide meta, you have such an advantage on how decks are being played, how they play it, what they're playing, spicy stuff, and all that kind of good stuff. And that ties into the second thing, which isn't worldwide meta, that's your local meta. And there is a difference between what is being played at regionals, competitions, events, versus down the street at your mom and pop card shop. Like I said, a few weeks ago I was playing, and I got 2-0'd by a deck that I should not have been 2-0'd against. Dark Magician. I should not have been 2-0'd against this deck, but I did. The guy played wonderfully, no ill will, but because I was not aware of his deck, I didn't know how they played. I'm like, okay, I kind of know a little bit about them because they got new stuff, but because I didn't know how to stop this guy, and with those slower decks like Dark Magicians where they start revving up and they get to a certain point, you can't stop them anymore. That's what happened to me, so that's super huge. If you know your locals, for example, if you're going to a competitive locals where the locals mirrors the competitiveness, then you already got an advantage. But if your locals you go to is kind of more on the casual side or kind of a rogue tier locals, or the meta is 5 decks and they only play 1, but you have that other advantage. The third reason, these all kind of connect, by the way, but the third reason why knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Side decking. Now, this is a big one. This is going to be its own separate video later on, but side decking is a huge example of knowledge because, one, it's what is your opponent playing, how can I stop it, or if you want to keep even getting further in the meta, what are they going to side in to side against my side cards, and how am I going to side against that? So if you already know what your opponent plays, if you know what they're expecting you to side out, you cannot do that. If your opponent knows, he's going to side Shadow Imprisoning Me or something like that, some Floodgate, and they're expecting you to, don't side it, because you actually have that power now going, okay, he thinks I'm going to side this, so I'm not going to do it. And knowledge, if you know how many cards your opponent is siding, that's also huge. One strategy I picked up from Trell from Team APS, shout out to you, man, love you guys, love you, Trell, you're awesome, is that what he told me, and I've started doing this too, is your whole side deck and your main deck, you just merge both, shuffle, 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 and then pull out 15. Your opponent has no idea if you even side. They don't even know what you side, if you even did. If your deck is 40 and you're combining with 15, merge, shuffle, 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 and then going through and removing certain cards you don't need or don't want, whether they are side deck cards or not, you have a complete mind game on that one. And your opponent, you can just go to mind games on that one. But if your opponent knows, oh, they're siding 2 cards, here's what I'm thinking they're siding, you can kind of see what's going on there. Number 4, if you know what techs are being used in Yu-Gi-Oh!, not necessarily what's being sided against you, but if you know a tech, like if you know, for example, Gamma is running around, Cypherframe, Gamma, flying around, you know that's a spicy tech in a lot of decks, you understand that with your playing cards with fun floodgates or an ability to monopolize stuff. If you're playing somebody with Weather Painters, you can expect to see some True Draco because that's such a fun tech. And if you already know what the tech is or you're playing against a deck with that, you have an advantage, especially if you know, okay, this one deck, these 2 decks that are being played, or this deck and this tech don't really balance very well, or this one thing shuts down his entire tech, you have that advantage. Or you can tell, you know, this tech is being used in a lot of these engines, we should side against this, or this is something good, or this is not good. You're aware of it. Especially in the competitive meta where you could see some spicy techs floating around here. You know, like counter fairies again. Let's go to counter fairies. Counter fairies could be playing a whole plethora of spicy techs, which, by the way, link description below for Jay's wonderful video on what you should run in counter fairies. But you could run a lot of different things, and if you know, okay, they're being spicy and putting these things in there, that's just your advantage. Or if you know no one's expecting this spicy tech, this could give me my extra advantage. It just helps you out that much. And finally, the last and most important reason why knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is just advantage. Like, it sounds lame, but just pure advantage is there. I mean, that's why certain cards are coming back into relevancy, like Mind Crush. Mind Crush is huge because everyone searches stuff nowadays. You can activate Mind Crush on their search and then get rid of that card. You have that knowledge. You have that play spirit. Especially if you know the deck you're playing in. You could honestly blind Mind Crush and just go, okay, they're playing this deck. They're gonna have something like this. Call, boom. Or you just wait for them to search because everything searches nowadays. Or you know hand traps are so prevalent. You know, Mind Crush, Ash, you know, and it's like, I mean, I don't know if you can channel that or not, but that's a point though, you can do that. And those are the reasons why I think that knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! The more you understand about your opponent's deck, your deck, the meta, techs, side choices, spicy techs, hybrid decks, you know, hey, you know what, True Draco is still running around, whether it's True Draco Pure, whether it's Dinos coming back from the dead, or, you know, Weather Painters with True Draco, you can be expecting this. Reasons why, again, I did not play well a few weeks ago is because I was not prepared. Or another thing, too, I thought True Draco was kind of leaving the meta. I didn't side or plan for any side cards against this player who played Invoked, which I had stuff ready for Invoked. But when he brought out his True Draco stuff, I went, I don't have anything to side against that. So this is why knowledge is so crucial in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! It's kind of complex because you need to know what your deck runs and you need to know what your opponent's doing. And yeah, granted, you can ask, hey, what does this do? Double check effects and everything. But if you know what the deck plays, you know the combos, not only can you speed your duels up, you also just have a better advantage because you know for a fact, hey, that's not how it works. But anyway, guys, those are my 5 reasons why knowledge is power in the game of Yu-Gi-Oh! Let me know what you guys think. Did I miss anything? Any other crucial events or any crucial pieces that, hey, this further helps my argument? Or am I just wrong? You think that you can just kind of go in willy-nilly and just have fun? Which you can, but these are the reasons why I think this definitely will help you guys out with competitive play. Thanks as always for watching Rising Duels. Please subscribe and like if you enjoyed the video. Share if you thought it was funny. Share if you thought it was relevant. Like in the description below. And we'll see you guys next time for more Yu-Gi-Oh! Content.